Welcome to this month's President's Comments. We're here in the beautiful atrium of Crossroads Christian Communications Center, and it's just great to be here. We are featuring this month interviews with George Boyd, who is the Superintendent for the AGC for Canada, what we call Canada East. And we're just going to get to know George a little bit. So let's begin. George, it's great to have you with us today.
Thanks, Bill.
George, tell us a little bit about you and your family and where you come from and how you got to this spot.
Well, Cynthia and I are living in Burlington. We've lived here now for 9 years. But originally we grew up in southwestern Ontario, down near London, on the other side of London, two small communities. I grew up in Petrolia and Cynthia was just down the street in Wyoming, Ontario. Yeah. We have 3 adult sons and we've been in Burlington for the last 9 years.
What are their names?
We have Josiah, Michael, and Lucas.
Okay, and they're all doing interesting things, so I want to hear that.
Okay. Josiah, our oldest, is now teaching at a private school in Oakville. And actually he's with his mom there. She's also on staff at this private school. And then Michael is in Calgary at university, and Lucas is in University of Carleton in Ottawa.
Okay, one's studying to be a lawyer, one's studying to be architect, and the other is a pro wrestler.
Yeah, something like that.
So George, tell us a little bit about your job and what ministry God has called you to and what does it mean to be the Canada East District Superintendent?
Okay, well, I'm kind of the rookie on the team. I was given this responsibility entrusted with this responsibility about 14 months ago. And the region stretches from Sault Ste. Marie in Northern Ontario all the way across to Ottawa. And there's about 80 plus churches in the Canada East region in the Ontario area. And one thing about the AGC, it all began in the Golden Horseshoe area. And so of those 80 plus churches, 80% of those are within a 2.5-hour drive from the Burlington area, the Golden Horseshoe area. And so it's a lot of day trips out to various churches and visiting churches through the week.
So we can see that Ontario basically is quite different than the rest of Canada in that terms. You called it the Golden Horseshoe and the number of churches, but how many pastors would this represent?
Well, like I said, in the Ontario region, there's probably 80 plus churches, and some of those churches are obviously multi-staff. Right. So there would be upwards of 100 pastoral staff in that region.
So that's a lot of people to care for.
Oh, for sure. But it's an exciting time because the diversity is exciting. All different kinds of sizes, shapes of churches, and even ethnic backgrounds of churches as well.
Now, I know that one of the things that you spend a lot of time with is with the various commissions that are working in Ontario and throughout all of Canada, actually. And so therefore, could you tell us a little bit about those 3 major commissions that the AGC has?
Sure. The AGC's vision statement is to be a movement of healthy reproducing churches. And so we've structured ourselves so that we can actually fulfill that vision that we believe that God has given us. And we structured it around 3 commissions, one of them being the Doctrine and Credentials Commission, then the Church Health and Leadership Commission, and then the Church Planning Commission. And so the Doctrine and Credentials Commission sort of makes sure that the leadership is in place, is healthy, and that's critical if we're going to have healthy churches. They need to be led by healthy leaders, and then healthy churches reproduce in the Church Planning Commission that oversees that.
So if we were to talk about what your passion might be, what you might want to say to the churches in the Ontario region, what would you say?
Okay, about 25 years ago, I read a book entitled 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen Covey. And in that book, he takes us through an exercise that helps people to arrive at a personal mission statement. In doing that, I came up with a personal mission statement that says something like, I need to become a developing servant leader who's helping others to reach their fullest God-given potential through biblical teaching, words of encouragement, and setting an inspiring example. And now to transfer that into the role of Canada East Superintendent, what it means that I need to be coming alongside churches and pastors and helping them to become all that God wants us to be, because it really happens within a community. We cannot become all that God wants us to be flying solo. And so as we come together as a region in regional conferences and area pastors meetings, then we develop relationships and we each help each other to become better. It's interesting in Ephesians chapter 4, Paul talks about God gifting the church so that the church helps people to grow up in their relationship with Christ. And so not only are we gifted locally, but we are also gifted as an association. And I think we just really need to facilitate those relationships so that we can help each other individually, corporately, locally, and then regionally to become all that God intends us to become. And that brings us back to our vision statement, which says that we need to be a movement of healthy reproducing churches.
George, I'm fired up about that passion because you are. And so thanks for all you're doing. God bless you.
Thanks, Bill.